إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. قال الله عز وجل في كتابه الكريم بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. وقال في مقام آخر: يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. وقال في مقام آخر: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله، وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. My brothers and sisters in Islam, for the Jummah Khutbah today, I wanted to talk about the guarding of the tongue. Our Prophet ﷺ mentioned in a hadith recorded by Imam Tirmidhi: إِذَا أَصْبَحَ بِنُ آدَمَ, every single day when the son of Adam wakes up, فَإِنَّ الْأَعْضَاءَ كُلَّهَا تُكَفِّرُ اللِّسَانَ, verily the limbs of the body of Adam humble themselves towards the tongue. The limbs of each one of us humble themselves towards our tongues. تقول, saying, اتق الله فينا, that be God conscious, fear Allah in regards to us. فإنما نحن بك, because verily we are with you. فإن استقمت استقمنا, if you are straight, then we will be straight. وإن اعوججت اعوججنا, and if you are crooked, then we will be crooked. What an important hadith, in which we notice that the limbs of the body fear for their safety because of what our tongues say. Because of what our tongues say. If you say what you're not supposed to say, or say it to someone you're not supposed to, or even say it at a time you're not supposed to, you're asking for a beating that could keep you dreaming, or a whooping that you never saw coming. Not only could you harm yourself, but you could also harm others. And perhaps that is why the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in a hadith that probably all of us have heard, recorded by Imam Muslim, when he was asked, Ayyul Muslimin Afdal? Ayyul Muslimin Afdal? When the Prophet ﷺ asked the companions, who of the Muslims are the best? He mentioned what? Man salim al-Muslimun min lisanihi wa yadihi, that the one whom other Muslims are safe from his tongue and his hands. The one whom from other Muslims are safe from his tongue and his hands. And this of course applies to the ladies as well. MashaAllah, although they may not be physical at times, they can't say things. So, not only can you harm yourself, but you can also harm others. And I'm sure you all can think of many examples that come right to mind, of individuals whom, because of their individual actions or sayings, many other Muslims were affected. Perhaps maybe even the whole Ummah at times, the whole Muslim world, just because of one person's actions or sayings. How many times can we remember a time throughout history that this has happened? If you have a habit of always using foul language, always saying bad things, carelessly, and not thinking about the consequences or what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala thinks of this, then pay attention to a very stern warning that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in a hadith recorded by Imam Bukhari. إِنَّ الْعَبْدَ لَيَتَكَلَّمُ بِالْكَلِمَةِ, verily a servant will say a certain word, مَا يَتَبَيَّنُ فِيهَا, and you won't think much about it. You'll say it carelessly. يَزِلُّ بِهَا إِلَى النَّارِ, you'll be thrown into the hellfire because of it. أبعد مما بين المشرق والمغرب, the distance of which is longer than the east and west. وكما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. That's a serious warning. If you're always cursing, using the F word, F this, F that, give me this, give me F that, then pay attention to what the Prophet ﷺ is telling you. These type of words do not befit the tongue of the one who says, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. It does not befit the tongue of one who says this beautiful shahada. And I know it may be tough because all your friends do it. Everyone in school does it. Everyone at work does it. Everyone in the grocery store does it. Maybe even elementary schools, the kids may be doing it. But you know what? That's okay. Because there's still a group of people within society, many of which actually are non-Muslims, who still choose to resort to good language. And they use good words. You'll never hear a foul word out of their mouth. And use also the encouragement of our own Prophet ﷺ. Another hadith recorded by Imam Tirmidhi, when he mentioned, "May يضمن لي ما بين لحييه وما بين رجليه أضمن له الجنة." That whoever can guarantee me what is between his jawbones and his thighs, I will guarantee this person Jannah. I will guarantee this person Jannah. Meaning what? The one who controls his tongue and controls his private organs in the ways that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prescribed through His Sharia, through Islam, the Prophet ﷺ is guaranteeing this person Jannah. What are some ways that we can prevent ourselves from using foul language or just saying bad things and things that we don't need to say? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually instructed us in detail in a surah that's also called Surah Al-Akhlaq, or a surah of manners. Surah Al-Hujurat. In this surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions several ayat that instructs us on how to behave amongst one another, or even when we're alone. I'll mention some of these verses today. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِنْ جَاءَكُمْ فَاسِقٌ بِنَبَإٍ فَتَبَيَّنُوا. In another riwayah it's recited, فَتَثَبَّتُوا أن تصيبوا قوما بجهالة فتصبحوا على ما فعلتم نادمين. O you who believe, if somebody comes to you with some news, then verify it, or strengthen it. Make sure it is true before you go and tell other people, lest it comes out to be false, and then you become sorry for what you did. How many times can we remember a time where we received some news and without verifying it, we quickly called 2 or 3 people, or maybe texted everyone in our phone book, or maybe even sent out a whole email, and it turned out to be false? How embarrassing was it at the end of that ordeal? I'm sure we all experienced it at one point or the other. So take the advice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and verify the information that comes to you. And don't start making assumptions just because you saw someone doing something and you didn't really know what it was. For example, a brother may be coming to the masjid and he's walking with a sister. And some crazy guy looks at him, or a crazy girl looks at them, and says, "Oh, look, astaghfirullah, this guy's coming to the masjid with his girlfriend." And this person goes on to tell person B tells person C. Eventually, it goes on amongst the community. And you know what? That sister, that girl, that woman turned out to be his sister, or his mother, or his daughter. How embarrassing would that be at the end of the day to defame and degrade this brother for no good reason, just because you heard someone else say it. One crazy person made a mistake, they spread their mistake, and then you spread too without verifying this information, and without, any reason to spread it. Also in regards to emails, when you receive an email, be very careful when you see a hoax or something that is false. There's still an email going around. This is several years old. Just to give you an example, I don't even know why it's still out there, but probably for this very reason, because people don't verify information. There's an email going around saying that in New York, they're making a bar in the shape of the Kaaba. in the shape of a Kaaba. And of course, they're selling liquor and all these things inside this bar. And they have the picture of it. It looks, quite like the Kaaba in Mecca. Imagine when people receive this email, how angry they're going to be. How will they feel? They're riled up for no good reason, especially those with short tempers. They'll start cursing the kuffar and so forth, and then forwarding it to other people. For no good reason. This whole thing was fake. Someone decided to make an image out of Photoshop and send it and just put a false story, and there you go. Millions of people have it now. Verify the information you get, even on text messages. And I know this still goes on. You'll get a text message saying, say La ilaha illallah 100 times and something good will happen to you. And if you do not pass it on, something bad will happen to you. SubhanAllah. Who gave you the authority to say that if you say La ilaha illallah a certain number of times, or a certain tasbih, or takbir, or tahleel, a certain number of times, that something good will happen to you or something bad will happen to you? Did you read a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that said so? Or an ayah in the Quran? If you didn't find it in one of those two sources, then you have no right actually to pass this on. Even if it was on your own personal peer Bible that you trust a lot, even though he came up with a wazifa, this is actually still not valid in Islam. It has to be from hadith or from a verse in the Quran before you pass this on. And if you receive it from someone, you can nicely remind them that, brother, sister, you may not want to send this because of so and so in a nice manner. So verify the information before you spread it. That's a very good way to guard your tongue. I'll skip a couple ayahs and then go down to where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, O you who believe, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, La yaskhar qawmun min qawmin asa an yakunu khayran minhum. O you who believe, let not a group of you mock or laugh at another group, because it may be that the ones you are mocking, the ones you're laughing at and making fun of, are better than you. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even though He said, O you who believe, He especially mentioned the women right after this. وَلَا نِسَاءٌ مِّن نِسَاءٍ عَسَىٰ أَن يَكُنَّ خَيْرًا مِّنْهُنْ. Although when you say, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, it's referring to everybody. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, subhanAllah, there must be some wisdom behind it. He mentioned the women especially right after this. Why? Because perhaps they do a lot of this and they know better. And especially because they're sensitive. Brothers and sisters in Islam, when we're amongst one another, there's no need to laugh at another person just because of their dress, the way they look, their skin color, or just because they didn't know anything, or something about Islam, or just because they weren't wearing a hijab or were not sporting a beard. This is no reason to laugh at anyone. Remember, there was a time where you also didn't know what La ilaha illallah was, but someone had to teach you. Someone had to teach you alif ba ta. Moreover, even in regards to other subjects, if you know another brother or sister is sensitive to a certain subject that you bring up, and it could be in regards to their family or personal life, whatever it may be, then don't bring it up. This is destroying communities, especially the communities the community that we live in. Many sisters sometimes are ashamed to come out, because when they come out in front of the other sisters, they bring up subjects that are sensitive to them, and they don't really like talking about it. They get embarrassed and they never want to come out again. Now that may not happen for a brother. He'll just get upset and just go somewhere else. Brothers, take out their anger and frustrations in other ways. But at the end of the day, if you are scaring someone away from the masjid, away from Muslim gatherings because of your habits and the way you talk, because you're mocking other people and making fun of them, then fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're going directly against His command in the Quran. He mentions further, وَلَا تَلْمِزُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ وَلَا تَنَابَزُوا بِالْأَلْقَابِ. And do not look for faults in one another. Don't look for faults in one another, and don't call each other by bad names. When you're finding a fault of one person, remember, you're pointing 3 fingers back at yourself. If you're trying to expose your brother or sister, remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will expose you. Even if you're within your own house, hiding within your own closet. So don't look for the faults of one another, and don't call each other by bad names.